Welcome back to Nexus Tech. You know, in cybersecurity, it always feels like we're just running around putting out fires. But what if I told you we're actually fighting a war on two completely different fronts at the exact same time? Today we're going to break down that war, the brutal, in-the-trenches fight against the bugs hitting us right now, and the high-stakes arms race to build the defenses of tomorrow. Okay, so that first front, that's the stuff you see in the headlines every day. It's the immediate, tactical fight against vulnerabilities that are being actively used to attack systems. But then there's this other front. This one's way more strategic. It's a long-term battle being fought in cryptography labs and even in outer space, all to prepare for a future threat that could literally break the internet as we know it. And that really tees up the big question for today. What should you actually be more worried about? A nasty bug that could take down your server this afternoon? Or a quantum computer that could decrypt your most valuable secrets sometime in the future? So let's dive in, and we're going to start with the danger that's knocking on the door right now. This is the ground war. It's messy, it's urgent, and these threats are anything but theoretical. They are happening as we speak. A perfect and pretty scary example is a critical vulnerability found in Control Web Panel. It's a super popular tool for managing servers. This bug is so bad, and it's being exploited so actively that CISA, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has officially added it to its must-patch now list. When they flag something, you know it's a big deal. And we're not talking about a handful of systems here. The scale of the exposure is just massive. A quick search on Shodan shows that over 220,000 of these control panels are just sitting there, facing the public internet, completely vulnerable. And get this, the severity score, a 9.0 out of 10. That's not just bad, that is critical with a capital C. It is basically as dangerous as a vulnerability can get. So what does that mean? Well, this bug allows for something called unauthenticated remote code execution. In plain English, it means an attacker doesn't even need your password. Seriously, all they need is one valid username on that system, and poof, they own your server. Game over. And look, this ground war isn't just about one-off bugs. It's about the entire criminal ecosystem that builds on top of them, which brings us to ransomware, which, wow, it just exploded in October 2025. We're looking at a 25% jump in attacks from September to October. Think about that, a quarter increase in just 30 days. It made October the third worst month of the entire year. This thing is spreading like wildfire. So who's getting hit the hardest? Well, manufacturing is still number one, but the really scary part is the growth in other areas. Healthcare attacks up 115%, transportation up 109%. We're talking about critical services that people rely on every single day, and they are under siege. Okay, so while all that chaos is happening down on the ground, there's another part of the security world looking up, literally to the stars, to build the defenses for tomorrow. This is where we talk about the future front of this war. So here's the ticking time bomb we're all worried about, quantum computers. A powerful one could basically shatter the encryption that protects, well, everything. This has led to this terrifying strategy called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later. Think about it. Adversaries are scooping up encrypted data right now, state secrets, your financial info, company IP, and they're just holding on to it, waiting. The solution? It's called post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. It's a whole new playbook for encryption, built from the ground up to resist these quantum attacks. And this isn't science fiction anymore. PQC just took a massive leap into the real world. In November 2025, a satellite called WISeSat went live. This is the very first time PQC has been operationally tested in space. This is a huge, huge deal. And the mission here is pretty bold. They're not just flipping a switch to see if it works. They're testing the whole communication pipeline, from the satellite down to the ground and all the way to tiny IoT devices. They're even mixing in blockchain to see how they can secure transactions from orbit. And you can bet this isn't just a tech experiment for corporations. This is now a top geopolitical priority. NATO itself is already moving to integrate quantum-safe platforms into its most critical systems. We're talking everything from command and control to battlefield drones. That tells you just how seriously the quantum threat is being taken at the highest levels. But PQC isn't the only game changer on the horizon. There's another mind-bending technology starting to emerge called zero-knowledge proofs, or ZKPs. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually kind of magical. Imagine you need to prove you're over 21. With a ZKP, you could prove it without ever showing your ID, your birthday, or even your name. You prove a fact is true without revealing any of the secret data behind it. And again, this is moving from the lab to your laptop. Projects like the DiStefano protocol are showing how we can layer ZKPs right on top of the web encryption we already use, TLS 1.3. That's the little padlock in your browser. This could mean a website could verify you meet an age requirement without you ever having to hand over your personal data. For privacy, this is an absolute game changer.
Whew. Okay, so keeping up with both of these fronts is a lot, and it's absolutely critical.
So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, not just on today's fires, but on tomorrow's quantum defenses, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the channel for more explainers just like this one.
All right, so where does that leave us? How do you actually fight a war on two fronts at the same time? Well, it really boils down to two things. First, you have to win the ground war, right now. That means patching your systems and dealing with immediate critical threats like that control web panel bug. But at the same time, you have to prepare for the future. You need a strategy for moving to things like PQC and ZKPs. You just can't afford to pick one and ignore the other.
And all this leaves us with one last, really big question. We are seeing insane innovation on both sides of this fight, right? The attacks are getting smarter, but our defenses are getting more powerful. But in this incredible accelerating race, are our defenses actually pulling ahead of the threats? Or are we just running faster and faster to stay in the same place? That's the question that's going to define everything in cybersecurity for the next decade.